I don't have much to say on this for reasons that are that will be clear in a second. But in the world of comics, Jonathan Kent, Clark Kent's son, is coming out as bisexual, and we see this picture of, him kissing a man. I will say that the reason I don't have much to say on this is because I am done with DC Comics. I have explained this at length in a previous stream. I will link to it below. But to just summarize, there was the Dark Knight's Metal crossover event that I read. No, Dark Knight's Death Metal. I fucking loved that crossover event. I really enjoyed it, and the final battle was fucking epic. I loved it. And to have this story end in yet another DC reboot was too much for me. And I noticed a pattern that DC Comics reboots their fucking multiverse every 5 years. This has been a consistent trend for the last 15 years, and to have it happen at the as the conclusion of a story that I was enjoying so much made me say, fuck this. If you're not going to commit to your own storylines for more than 5 years, neither will I. I'm out of here. I will continue to read The Flash because of course I will. But I'm out for this iteration. I will see you in 5 years when you reboot your universe again. Okay? So this thing happening in the this rebooted universe, I'm just not going to pay attention to it unless he happens to do a cameo in a Flash comic or whatever. So the one thing that I want to point out, though, actually, let me just find this is a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I will just give the broad lines here in case I never get around to actually covering it. But this tweet, Gamergaters who don't actually read comics are going to have a field day with this. Now, on the topic of representation, okay? There are two things that are true with this bisexual Jonathan Kent here. This bisexual Superman or Superboy or whatever the fuck, I don't care. It's clearly pandering. It's not a big deal. My hand is out of frame. So those two things are true. It's clearly pandering and it's not a big deal. And if it can help some gay person identify with comics more because they see themselves, there's no harm. It's kind of transparent, but who cares? And the point that I was making, that I was alluding to with this tweet here, is that I suspect, because I can't read anyone's mind, right? But I suspect that the Gamergate types who do a lot of complaining when these kinds of things happen in comics, the kinds of people who made dozens and dozens of videos about Brie Larson when the Captain Marvel movie came out, the Quarterings, the Gamers and Geeks or whatever, channels like that. I suspect that they don't read comics anywhere near what they imply. And an anecdote that illustrates this, and let me find. So in Deadpool, there's a mutant called Domino. And the thing is, they race bent Domino. Domino is not a black woman in the comics. As a matter of fact, Domino isn't just white. She's like white, like the color white. And just to illustrate, just to give you an idea, the actress who played Domino in the Deadpool movie was so good at her role that I didn't even realize that they had race bent Domino before like a third or half of the movie in, that I realized, holy shit, wait, Domino's black. Seriously though, she was so good. I have no trouble believing that she was not a diversity hire and that she was literally the best audition for the role. That's how good she was. However, as curiosity after watching the Deadpool 2, I did a quick survey of the kind of people that I would expect to complain about them race bending Domino, because, you know, it's the SJW woke agenda and they're all that shit, you know. And I went to their channels and searched for like Deadpool 2 reviews, and nothing. At least if the Quartering or Sargon of Akkad, or who else? A couple other people that I'm not thinking of right now. I definitely checked out those two channels. If the Quartering complained about them race bending Domino at some future point, I didn't hear about it, but I explicitly looked and the movie had been out for a while, which leads me to believe that he doesn't read comics, or at least nowhere near as often as he implies. Just to end on a final meme here, we can see that open in new tab. There's an obvious difference between these two people. It's not just a tiny little thing, you know? I mean, she has a fucking afro. Anyway, I've belabored this point enough. If Jonathan Kent makes a cameo in The Flash, then maybe I'll comment on it, maybe I won't. One thing that I'll say, though, before wrapping this part up, there are good and bad ways to do representation, okay? One example of a bad way to do it is a diversity hire. That's cringe. I fucking hate that. But the other one, another example of how to poorly do representation, is when, let's say you have a gay character, and every time they appear in your story in itself has nothing to do with like LGBT stuff, and whenever the character appears, the only contribution that they add to the story is to be gay. That's kind of cringe too. But I have the nagging feeling that they're not going to do this with Jonathan. I have no idea. As I've belabored enough, I will not read it. Maybe when they reboot the universe again in 2026, and that Jonathan Kent is still gay in that rebooted universe, maybe I'll take a look at that then. But for the time being, I'm out. All right.